So I'm going to do it. Okay, now I'm compliant. So
Uh,
what about ghetto classroom? What does ghetto mean?
well, I think ghetto kind of refers to like a state of condition, whether you want to call it like the slums or garrison or, the hood or whatever. So,
Okay.
it kind of like just like dictates the state of which area is in, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like the economic value and stuff like that. So when he says ghetto classroom, I'm assuming he means a classroom that or in a school that's like, kind of lacks resources, have outdated books, and whose students are predominantly low income and stuff like that.
Yes, I think that we would agree on the description, that the accurate, detailed description that you gave. Lack of resources. It refers to a specific location, slums. That was the word you were using. And so lower income students and lack of access, basically, to a good number of things. Um, Now, the book, I was trying to remember, the book was published in 1980. I mean, the first edition, because this book has many editions, but the very first edition, I think, is from 1982, okay, 1982. Um, in one of the comments for the previous forum, and I think it was Max, but not only Max, okay, uh, wrote this sentence: "We have come a long way." And this was after he watched the Chicano video, right? And this was one of the forums. So have we come a long way in terms of education? Or my basic question would be here, do we still have schools that kind of survive under these conditions, or have we evened out the playing field, as they usually say? What is your assessment? Could this be happening? Could somebody be invited to, nowadays, right, to be a guest lecturer at a school that lacks resources, seriously lacks resources? What is your assessment about that? Let me ask just Megan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's lots of places that are still like that.
Okay, so it's not necessarily way back in the past. It could
No.
be, okay, could be, something happening today. Um, Now he also says diffident. Could you explain that to me, someone, Jaylene? What does diffident student mean?
Someone who is like shy.
Okay, I think that gets kind of to the meaning of the word, but we need more precision. Kels, what is your interpretation of diffident?
Um, to be honest, I don't know what definite really means. I mean, it sounds like almost like different.
Yeah, it sounds, in terms of sound, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I think it's important for the classroom situation, right? Uh, yeah, I think it could be lack of confidence, but this lack of confidence, in my view, it's kind of hidden through a mask, okay, of lack of concern. So diffident, in a short way of expressing the meaning of it, would be unreceptive, or non-receptive, or um, um, disengaged, okay, and even at times obnoxiously disengaged. So diffident, I don't care, I couldn't care less, okay. So he's talking, Richard Rodriguez, probably about his own education, his own experiences as a Mexican American person, right? And they're not paying attention to him. That's what's happening in the classroom. And now, given the description of Shamani, I think it makes sense. Because in a classroom with lack of resources, right? Most likely than not, the students are there as bodies, but not necessarily, right, as students. That's the reality. Maybe they haven't eaten. Maybe this morning they did not eat. Maybe there are lots of things happening at home. Maybe also the teacher, right, that invited Richard to the classroom is a good teacher. Is trying to do his best. Is bringing a guest, here we're gonna make a connection. I have a lot, say, of Latino students, Latinx students in my classroom. Maybe this guy, Richard Rodriguez, who's a great speaker, will make a dent and will make a meaningful connection here. But he's saying diffident students. So maybe not much is happening. Okay, I'm talking to no one. Okay, I'm not making actually a good connection. So why does he begin highlighting that? The type of classroom he's in, also now that he's a speaker, and also that the students are not listening to him. Because again, his main purpose is to be talking about how do we get these kids to have an excellent education? Not because he's looking at them like they are over there, right? They are them, us, them. No, it's because of his background. Okay, I need to remind you that my parents were disadvantaged because of their own situation. My parents, Mexicans, immigrated to the States, right? Had not that many opportunities, but I did. Watch out with this, okay? But I did. So I'm the guest speaker. So guest speaker for me is important in here because it describes his own situation, okay? But also the invitation itself is interesting, okay? Because we have the sense that if we are inviting somebody and say the teacher is white, okay, Caucasian, the teacher is not necessarily, I don't know, he's not describing it, it's describing the person, but I'm just creating a picture here, okay? So the teacher says, okay, I need my Mexican-American person to come to make the connection because it's obvious that since I am not, a person of color, maybe this will be helpful. That's part of the equation for me, okay, in terms of the teaching situation in this classroom. And then he starts going back, taking us like in a journeys, telling us this is what took place in terms of what my education was all about. Bottom of the page, with every award, each graduation from one level of the education to the next, people I would meet would congratulate me. Their refrain always the same. Your parents must be very proud. Sometimes then they would ask me how I managed it, my success. Now, please pay attention to the word success because he writes it between these quotation marks, right? So he's kind of distancing himself from the idea of success. He's critical of that word because that's why we have this quotation marks, okay? And even the idea of his parents being very proud about himself, I think he's also kind of distancing from that cliche expression because it is a cliche, right? People repeat it all the time. That's a cliche. So it becomes sometimes meaningless as a cliche, unless you involve yourself in the conversation and you say much more about it. But then when you repeat the sentence over and over and over, it loses meaning actually and significance. After a while, I had several quick answers to give in reply. So I was, coming up with the answers already. As a cliche, I'll respond. So I will pacify them. I will keep them quiet somehow. There will be no more intrigue about how did I do it and blah, blah, blah. So, but these are the answers. Right? I went to an excellent grammar school. Okay, so that made a difference for me. So I didn't, in fact, he's saying, I didn't go to a ghetto school. Let me be blunt. I went to an excellent grammar school. But now we know something else, did he go to a public school, Jaylene?
No.
No. Where was he sent to? By his parents?
If I'm correct, the Catholic school?
Yes. So his parents were paying for this school education. Maybe not that much, but they were paying. So it was private, first of all, right? So I was sent to an excellent grammar school. What is he saying to me? A person like me, from my working class background, should be maybe given this opportunity of having an excellent school preparation. This is not going to happen just anywhere in the States. He's saying, no, the school you go to will matter for you, and especially maybe elementary school. Because if you don't learn to read and read well, right? Also, if you are not being taught, the basics of literacy, forget it. Forget it, okay? The American dream is not going to happen. And this is part of the conversation here. How is the American dream for him going to happen or not? And it's not happening. It's not happening. And he will argue, right, that Chicanos, as I was saying, remember, Chicanos do not have the right approach. Because this is a letter to Chicanos, right? It's a letter saying, this is my testimony. I am witness of this education that was successful in my case. Let me tell you how this happened. He's arguing his case, right? About the system of education or what will provide for a Mexican-American kid like him an excellent education or not, according to him, right? Because we are studying his viewpoint, not my viewpoint, nor your viewpoint, his viewpoint, right? My earliest teachers, the nuns, made my success their ambition. Notice how I go by line by line. I'm not going very fast at all. I'm a very slow reader. I need you to be a slow reader with your quotations, with your comments. That's what I'm asking you to do. Some of you submitted them. Fantastic. Some of you did not as of yet. I hope you have until Thursday. Okay. Actually, it was due yesterday. The quotations were due yesterday, the assignment. But this is what I want you to do. Slow it down. Take your time. Go word by word, line by line, and bring the conversation together, okay? What we have been discussing in class about the book, put it together in your own words. My own words do not matter. It's your words that will matter, right? Your process, your education, your processing your ideas. That's what matters, right? I'm just trying to help out here. I'm trying to put myself in the classroom, as you see, in conversation with the book. But I also would like you to wonder about, your own education. Tell me, where do you go to school? Did you have excellent teachers? Did your teachers kind of fail you? Maybe not. I would argue, because you're here. Somehow your teachers did not fail you, But how many of them, how many students are we failing? And why? And you know about that, because I'm sure that you know students who are not progressing and will not get a college education, right? You know about that. I know you do, okay? My brother and my sister were excellent students, he's saying. So that was helpful. Notice what else he says. My mother and father always encouraged me because we cannot take it for granted. Some parents will not be helpful, guys. Some parents will not because maybe they can't, okay? To have a baby, right, to have a child, doesn't mean that you'll become a good parent necessarily, right? That you can be supportive. Let me give you an example, okay? I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt again. What if your father is an alcoholic, right? Or something is happening, I don't know. Or something, your dad has an accident, say, and then he no longer can actually mentally function, you know, as a normal person, say. So you have to help them out, and not, they won't be able to help you out, right? So, but in this case, it seems that his father and his mother were able to sustain the situation at home. And also they made a decision, right? Let me remind you of this. They took this kid and the family to a middle-class neighborhood, according to him, where no Hispanic was nearby, and I assume where no African-American person was nearby. And so they took the family, right, over to this neighborhood, and close by there was this school, Catholic school. He could go over there, could go there. And remember what I said. He said, yeah, we had some people pestering us, right, neighbors, but that was about it. This is an important point for him, not for me, but for him, right? Why? Why do I say that? Because Chicanos would say, we went to public schools and we were sorely discriminated against. Racially discriminated against, right? Linguistically discriminated against, and you name it, given the circumstances of the country. And he's from the same exact generation, right? But again, he's writing a letter, for me, in my view, against Chicanos and what Chicanos were saying at the same time. And that's why he says, right, that in many people's views, he's, what was it? A person who is selling out. I forget the metaphor he uses in the prologue, but if you remember in the prologue, I highlighted it, so I can read it again. I have become, this is on page 4 for me, I have become notorious among certain leaders of America's ethnic left. Notice how he calls them, ethnic left. I am considered a dupe, an ass, the fool, Tom Brown, the Brown Uncle Tom, and you name it, okay? So there are reasons why they are calling him, you know, these names, because he's had these positions, right, pertaining important issues for the Mexican-American community, for this youth, right? And he's writing his book precisely to define the majority. I think the majority, because the majority of this youth of his own generation were supporting different ideas, not necessarily the same that he's arguing for, right? Because he's against ideas and in favor of ideas. It's not my intention, you know, to be lecturing all the time, as you know. So I'm going to give you more background, okay? Because I think it's very important for all of you to understand the background of this, the historical background of the situation. You saw the first very moving, telling video about what was taking place in Texas with Mexican Americans. I'm going to show you a second video, okay? Because I think you need to see this, okay? To understand the situation of Chicanos at the time. So this is it's a video pertaining to what took place in high school now, okay, in high schools. And we have several Chicano members of the movement, of the Chicano movement, speaking to us again, okay? So I'm going to show you the video.
Trying our best to get as many to go into a four-year school as would.
It was the largest barrio in the United States.
Growing up in East Los Angeles, I wasn't actually aware of it as a young child, but it soon became apparent that I grew up in a very isolated, very segregated neighborhood, a community that was totally separate from the rest of Los Angeles.
Education was seen as a way to break down those barriers, a way for young people to one day have what everyone else had.
I was buying into this whole thing about the American dream, get an education, you can be whatever you want to be, and you know, read all these books and listen to the teachers. Even though at the back of my mind, I've seen something's going on here. You know, the reality that I see here is different from what you're saying.
Something was definitely wrong. Only 1 out of 4 Chicanos completed high school.
The dropout rate was really kind of what some people called a push-out rate. I mean, these were students who were being pushed out of school because their needs weren't being met, their culture was not addressed, the school really wasn't doing anything for them.
Unemployment was almost double the national average. Those who worked earned about 2/3 of what other Los Angeles residents earned. These conditions had a dramatic impact on Mexican-American children.
I started elementary school in the early 1950s, and I was the only student in my kindergarten class that was a monolingual Spanish-speaking child. And I was immediately led to the front of the class, and I was instructed on how to create a cone hat out of construction paper. The teacher painted a word on it and told me I could take it off when I learned to speak English, and the word she had painted on that was the word Spanish.
I remember going to elementary school, taking my tacos of frijoles and meat and rice and being made fun of by the other kids in junior high especially, to the point where I didn't want to take tacos de carne to school. I wanted to take bologna sandwiches.
I remember feeling ashamed, you know, when my father would go to school because he didn't speak good English and translating for him. Feeling ashamed of being Mexican, and which fed this growing anger in me. And I think those same things were, you know, infecting everyone else, and everyone responded in a different way. The burden was pretty heavy, you know, in terms of the shame of not feeling that your parents were worth anything because the teachers and the schools treated them like children.
There were clear signs of prejudice and discrimination.
I remember vividly when I was an honor student being asked by the white counselor what my father did for a living, and me telling her, well, you know, he's a laborer, you know, he works with his hands. And then she told me, and I'll never forget this, these were the exact words, that is a very honorable profession. You should follow in your father's footsteps.
My homemaking teacher, she would say, you know, you little Mexicans, you better learn and pay attention. This class is very important because, you know, Most of you are going to be cooking and cleaning for other people.
It was real clear to me that there was a definite tracking system. Some students went into the academia tracking and were being prepared to go to college. Others were being tracked into going into the shop classes, into the vocational areas. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with that, but you didn't have a choice. You were tracked into those areas.
Students were grouped into the classes, generally based on some kind of ability rating. Usually it was IQ. The lower groups didn't get the same benefits and also didn't get the same support for going to college.
Gradually, these students realized they were not alone in their frustrations.
I heard that there were many more students who had the same kind of yearning and anger and desire to do something with their lives and not be stereotyped and pegged into being some sort of commodity for labor.
A lot of us had the same sort of complaints about what was happening in our lives as far as our education. So we decided to take a survey.
That's when we start to gather that information and start interacting with the school district saying, you're not meeting our needs. And look at, people are saying they don't get college advisements. Kids are saying that they get pushed out of school, that discipline is not fair. They went from better food all the way to, we want to go to college.
We have the lowest reading rate in East LA, in the East Side schools. We have graduates that graduate from high school, that graduate, that are in the 12th grade, that graduate and are out to face the world and can only read 8th and a 9th grade reading level. And we believe this is a crisis.
We were just being passed because of our age and nothing else. So they really didn't care if we learned how to read or we knew how to spell or anything else like that. It was just a matter of, okay, just go.
I think the bottom line is the lack of concern of the teachers towards the kids and whether the kids were really getting an education or not. The reality set in that teachers weren't really concerned for the kids.
Students called for bilingual instruction, Mexican-American history courses, an end to corporal punishment, and the hiring of more Mexican-American teachers and counselors. Their efforts transformed America's understanding of what was meant by civil rights. They presented their demands to the Los Angeles School Board.
They felt like we were not counseling them, but we're trying to have them go into industrial arts. Well, that wasn't true at all. We were trying our best to get as many to go into a four-year school as would.
What can we do when we do not have the actual authority to control what the whole of society is doing? If we could distribute everybody equally and have equal funds everywhere and have equal quality of teachers, there would be no problem.
They patted us on the back, and my recollection was that they literally just threw away the results of our survey. And that began to politicize us.
The students were facing a problem that had for years caused concern within their community. As early as the turn of the century, Mexican-American families called for educational reform. They protested the segregation of their children in so-called Mexican schools, where teachers severely punished Mexican-American students for speaking Spanish in the classroom.
Keep in mind that the Spanish language for many Mexicans is almost a characteristic of being Mexican. It's a defining characteristic, not an incidental characteristic.
Young children were taught that the culture of their community, of their parents, was really a hindrance to success. If a child learned these kinds of things, he began then to look upon his cultural background, upon his parents, upon his community in a negative way.
So you treat them and you teach them at the lowest common denominator of labor and how to use your hands. And you get them out into the fields and into jobs as quickly as possible. That was the Mexican experience in schools.
By 1946, parents in Santa Ana, California were fed up. They filed suit against local school officials and won. Mendez versus the Westminster School District declared the segregation of Mexican American children to be unlawful. It set the stage for the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision Brown versus Board of Education, which declared segregated schools unconstitutional throughout the United States. Despite this ruling, segregated schools remained, and even in integrated settings, Mexican American students still suffered from neglect and unequal resources.
The end result of this is that the Mexican children were given an inferior education, which prepared them for menial kinds of positions and jobs as cheap laborers, the kinds of positions that their parents filled.
Our greatest resource is the skill and the vision and the wisdom of our people. If your education falters or fails, everything else that we attempt as a nation will fail. If you succeed, America will succeed. Over half of all the Mexican American children have less than 8 years of school. How long can we pay that price?
So, there we go. Anything that you like to highlight?
The whole video was angry.
Yeah.
And the bravery that the students had to go through with, you know, presenting their case to the board. I think that's very honorable and brave.
Yes, they had to organize themselves.
I found it very shocking that a teacher basically put a dunce kind of cap on this kid who was Mexican American and said Spanish. So basically she was like labeling him due to his heritage, even though he was an American, because he lived in America. He lives in America.
Yeah, so that's part of the conversation here with this book, because do we have monolingual people, bilingual people? Do we have different languages? And how do we treat those languages and those people who speak, you know, a non-English language, in this case, Spanish? And how much have we advanced in terms of incorporating, including, for example, the teaching of different languages, when we have the strong presence of communities speaking those languages in addition. Okay, I want to share my screen again and to see if we can have a conversation about the specific moments in the chapter. So here are, as I'm trying to introduce this routine, right? I'm giving you the pages of my edition, and I need you to help me find what are the pages for your edition here, so we can have a more detailed conversation about at least some of these pages for the chapter. So if you could tell me.
The one
My
from
chapter
47.
47, 45 is 47 for you? Done.
the chapter 2, the page for chapter 2 on mine is 43.
Which page are you referring? Page 60, page 52? I don't know.
Page 45.
45 for you is 43.
Like, no, wait.
At the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah. Like when it starts the chapter, it's, hang on.
Anybody, 45?
Oh, never mind, it's 45, my bad.
I'm confused. Can somebody help us out, please?
I figured out, it's 45, it's the same as yours, never mind.
Okay, 52. Your parents must be very proud of you.
For me, 45 is actually 47 in my book. I have like the black book.
Yeah, I'm talking about that, the black book, because I have the brown book. 52 in the black book. Your parents must be very proud of you.
For the first one, mine's 41 on my iPad.
Okay, I will have to go only with, yeah, with the black edition, but if somebody else has the text maybe on their cell phone, maybe that's the page for them. I need the pages for the black edition because I'm assuming the majority of you has the black edition.
For the second one, I have for page 55.
As well. Oh, okay. Nice. 60. At the end of each school day, that's the beginning of the paragraph. So section 2, second page, more for me at least. But that should give you an idea. Yes, it says section 2, right? You have the number, and it's almost that's the second page for me. So what page number is for you? Is that for you?
63.
Thanks a lot. 63 then. Please, if you have the book, the black cover, make sure to write these numbers. Okay, write the numbers.
That one is 65.
61 is 65 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have to have both numbers somehow, right? 45, 47, 52, 55, 60, 63, 61, 65, now 67. But this is criticism more accurate than fair. So it's, you need to go to page, to the section 3. And after that is like the third page in my book. Section 3.
For me, it's 71.
71. And the last one. I think this is easier because it's just the end of section 4. My best teachers in college, that's 72 for me. And for you? It should be the last page.
Yeah, it is. It's the last page. It's 78.
78. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to create breakout rooms, and I'm going to stop by assigning you a page. And this is what I would like you to do with your classmate. Select at least one quotation and make comments on that on your own. And then we will listen to your quotation and we will listen to your comments on that quotation from the page I assign you. So here we go. Breakout rooms. I need to, okay, so. Where do I have our breakout rooms? So I think I should create. Yeah, 4 breakout rooms. So Jaylene?
Yes.
Page 45, page 47 in the black book.
Okay. Wait, and I have the brown book, so what?
45.
45, okay.
47 in the black book.
It's when I reach the third grade, right?
Okay, Chaos. So page 52 in my case, page 55 in the black cover book. Somebody else who is with you?
You said
Shama?
52.
Yeah. So 52 for me, and the paragraph begins, your parents must be very proud of you. Your parents must be very proud of you. 55 in the black book cover.
Okay.
I'm leaving the room.
All right.
Okay, so Lindsay and Sky, my page is 60, and in the black cover book is 63. Paragraph begins at the end of each school day. So page 63 in the black cover book.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm leaving the room.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then, Jesus. Break a room. Okay, here we go. Page 65 in the black cover book, 61 in my brown edition.
Okay, let me find it 1 second.
In 4th grade, I embarked upon a grandiose reading program. Page,
Okay, I have it. Page 65 in the brown book. Haley, what edition do you have again?
I have 65 too.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, and it's just that page, Professor?
Only one page, yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we just doing the quote? Or are we doing the whole?
Yeah.
Yeah, identify segment and then make comments on that segment.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're talking about a reading program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the question?
Okay. So are we supposed to be making comments about the quotation that you assigned us?
Indeed, if not, you're not doing the work.
Okay.
I did not assign a quotation, I did assign a page. So
Yes.
within the page, find a segment that is significant for you, that you think is truly relevant, and then start making comments. Go word by word, phrase by phrase, sentence by sentence. Why is this segment so important? I'll stay with you, by the way.
Okay. Because one of the quotations that I found on page 45 in the Brown Book, it's in the second paragraph, and it says, a primary reason for my success in the classroom was that I couldn't forget that schooling was changing me and separating me from the life I enjoyed before becoming a student.
Yes. Is that the page I gave you?
Yeah, 45.
45, okay. Yeah, now you need to speak, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that meaningful for this book? Why is this meaningful for this person? And how is that meaningful maybe for your education? Do you can you relate to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make a lot more sense now.
No, I'm talking about the quotation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Saying, does that make sense to you, Jorge? Does that make sense to you, Jaylene? In what way? Or it doesn't? And if it doesn't, why not? Explain yourself. Deal with the ideas.
So I think the way I interpret it is that, like, because he was becoming more successful, he was separating himself, well, not separating, but I guess drifting apart more to his roots. In this case, it would be his family and Spanish, which is his language, his first language. And that's why he says he enjoys his life before he became a student, because he didn't know how much English was going to affect his identity.
Yeah, that's an excellent comment.
Okay.
That's what we need, you know. In fact, what we are doing is the kind of the writing of the quotation, the same assignment that I gave you for today, right? For Monday, for yesterday.
Yeah.
We are doing it orally.
Okay.
It's the same.
And we can also, like, in the quotations, I kind of incorporated a bit of my own experiences just because I related to that. Was that fine?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do, but do not forget to also talk
Explain
about
the quotation.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. Both
Gotcha.
will be fine. I could also comment that he's saying, as long as I did not forget that the schooling process was changing me, as long as I was aware, and I'm referring to the quotation, okay? As long as I was aware, I was becoming successful. So it's like saying, I can say the other way around, right? I could say, if I was not aware, I was to be less successful. Notice that this is a possible comment too. Okay, so becoming aware of the process actually makes you succeed through the stages of education for him. But when you are not cognizant of the fact that education will drastically change your life, maybe you will be getting totally disappointed and frustrated, according to him. And then you'll fail. You'll fail to recognize what the education process will do to you, because education will do something to you, according to him, not to me.
No, I completely agree, because again, when I was growing up, so my parents are migrants, right? Or immigrants. And I attended a bilingual preschool.
Oh.
Now, for me, thinking about it as I was younger and growing up, I didn't think much of it. But after reading this book, it makes sense. Like, I can connect certain things with my childhood that he also connects to, like the sense of guilt that he feels because he doesn't know how to, like, speak Spanish correctly. Like, I also feel that guilt, but I've come to accept it because I know I'm more dominant in one language than the other, and that's okay.
Right, because bilingualism, being bilingual may mean, like also in my case, that as you were saying, one is more dominant in one language than in the other. Yes, that's to be bilingual, actually. And dealing with that as well, having to deal with that. So Jorge, you're silent. you need to speak, you know? You need to engage in the conversation. I'm just saying, I'm not forcing you. But I hope it's sparking some ideas, you know? If what Jaylene is saying is somehow sparking some ideas in your mind, that will help you out. Because I need you to be working on those quotations. And I need you to understand the book and the discussion and get, you know, your ideas out. Anything that triggers idea and writing in you and speaking, that's what we need. I need to end the conversation, sorry, because we don't have much time. Okay, we are back, it seems. I will
only see 3 of us.
Okay, we need more people here. But I would like to go to page 65 in your book. My page is 61. I would like to go to page 65. Did you have that page by any chance?
I did.
Fantastic. So you and who else?
I did, Professor.
The two of you. Okay, fantastic. Let's go to page 65 in your book and 61. Kels, it reads, in 4th grade, I embarked upon a grandiose reading program. Okay. In 4th grade, I embarked upon a grandiose reading program. Page 61 in my book, 65 in yours.
When we begin, Professor, would you like to read us? Would you like us to read the segment we chose first before we comment?
Yes, please read the quotation. Go ahead.
All right. Kaylee, you want me to do it or?
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
All right, so we chose the first sentence, which was, well, not first sentence. In 4th grade, I embarked upon a grandiose reading program. Give me the names of important books, I would say, to startle teachers. They soon found out that I had in mind adult books. I ignored their suggestion of anything I suspected was written for children. That was the segment we chose.
Sure, comments.
We basically just what we understood from this segment was Rodriguez wants to prove to his teachers that he can understand not just the intermediate level of reading. He wants to show that he has the ability to fit into American society through this reading program in school. I don't know if Kaylee wanted to add to that.
Please.
Yeah, basically I said too, like, he wants to be challenged, like he wants to show them that like he can read these upper level books that they think that he may not be able to read.
Or like comprehend or understand.
Yeah,
like he wants to read these you know, the more difficult level reading.
Yeah, and later on, it's in the same page. Each time I finished the book, I reported the achievement to a teacher and basked in the praise my effort earned. Despite my best efforts, however, there seemed to be more and more books I needed to read. And then he starts including the titles of the books. Question, did you do this? Did any of you do this?
In school, try to show that you were capable? Yes, I did.
No. Reading hundreds of books and reading 10 books when you were in 4th grade, 20, 30.
Absolutely.
You're talking about like those competitions?
No, I'm talking about him. I'm talking about what he did. It wasn't a competition. He decided on his own, I'm going to start reading books.
It says here that he started reading more books for extra credit.
Yes, but he also later on says, I started reading and it was endlessly, okay? I would just go even to the library And now they knew me. Before, you know, they kind of were suspicious about me because I was reading books that were not perhaps appropriate for my age. And then they accepted me and they kept the books, you know, for me before I was going into the library. So what kind of person is this one who decides, you know, on his own to just become, I don't know, a bookworm of sorts? And how many of us would have done this? I think he's presenting himself as an exceptional case. But then if he's presenting, and with this I finish, if he's presenting himself as an exceptional case, how many of us could do, Mexican Americans coming from a working class background, actually do this? How many of them? How many of them? Therefore, how strong is his argument? How much can we replicate this situation if we want to educate students who are coming from a working class background and also who are at the beginning, right, monolingual in Spanish, and then maybe bilingual? Because if I want to trust in his argument, right, about education and how we educate them, then how I'm going to trust in it if a person needs to be so exceptional? Okay, that's my point here, so that we engage with the argument that he's proposing. And again, to finish, how do we educate folks who have tremendous challenges when they come to elementary school? Tremendous challenges, okay? Especially for his generation, as you saw in the video, okay? As you saw, because the educational system was not favoring them, was discriminating against them, and so on and so forth. Okay, sorry about my extending the class, but I needed to make my little point before we finished, okay? If you haven't submitted your quotations, I'll give you until Thursday, and please take a look at the raise your hand, what is it, forum? No, is that the raise your hand forum? Yeah, because I posted more information in there, okay? Just a couple of minutes before the class. And I'll come back to that Thursday. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Take care.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Anybody who's has got
Quotation. So we just basically read the paragraph and we choose a quote out of that paragraph for the quote?
For the assignment that was due yesterday, I asked you to read carefully the prologue, right? And the first chapter that we discussed, and select 5 quotations, 5 segments that you deemed, that you thought were important, and then comment on them.
Oh, okay.
I also included in the raise your hand forum an example. You have an example of a quotation plus a comment. So go to the raise your hand and see the example plus the comment.
All right, thank you.
Very clear, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks so much, Kel. You too. Pet your cat.
And don't forget to vote.
I will not. I am voting late tonight, but I will.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.